Steelhead fishing in the Northwest is cast, 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 go to another spot, cast, cast, cast. And you're just looking for that one pool with aggressive fish in it, or any fish in it. And then your luck turns around and then it's just game on.
For those who can't afford a guided elk hunt on a private ranch or a fly fishing trip to the Amazon, this show is for you. This is Budget Outdoors TV, your source of high-quality fishing and hunting locations that are affordable. You won't see us staying in fancy lodges, just over-the-counter, public land, do-it-yourself trips. Our goal is to motivate you to spend less and get out more.
This episode is brought to you by
I took a look at the weather forecast of this week, and this is supposed to be the only dry day. We get out here and it's snowing on the way in. That's pretty cool to see. Raining a little bit, but I think that's gonna clear. Should be a good day. You see all those trucks pulled over on the side when we're coming in. Usually this river will get hammered with fishermen. It'll be every pullout will have a truck or a car, like on a Saturday. You won't be able to pull in. This spot would have 2 or 3 trucks in it, which would be typical of this river because we're so close to Portland. A lot of people fish here. So I'm very happy to be in this spot and fish this spot. There's no Dude, I love these holders. They're like the best thing because as you go from spot to spot, you don't want to break down your rods and you don't want to throw them in the back. You just lock them down there and you're good to go. So what I like about this spot is that this is pretty much the only place that steelhead have to go. Because the water is so low and clear, this is pretty much the only run in this whole stretch between here and all the way downriver for the steelhead to go. And right in here, looks like that's where they're gonna be. But the biggest challenge of today is that the water is really low and clear, which makes for spooky fish and then makes for really challenging situations. There's just not a lot of places for them to go, which is good, but then when the water's so low and clear here, they just get really spooky. So that's probably the biggest challenge we'll have today, is not necessarily finding fish, but finding fish that are ready to eat because it's so low and clear. You know, imagine fishing all day, you're not catching anything, you're not hooking anything. You start to lose confidence you're gonna get at anything, and all of a sudden your bobber goes down, it's game on. Hopefully that'll happen to us sooner or later here. I think one of these holes we should be able to hook a fish. It's like the perfect time of year. I just don't like how low this water is. It makes it really clear and kind of tough. But I know that the fish are in this system. We waited to do this the only day out of the week. We've been waiting for weeks for a day where it's not raining. Thursday was the only day out of the week that the forecast said no rain, and here it's raining. So it's snowing on the way over. That was pretty cool to see. Oh, come on. Oh. Bottom. This week I wanted to feature this episode on this location because anybody can come and do this. The cost of doing this trip is half a tank of gas. So far, you know, things have been slow fishing, but you know, it's good to get out here. It's better than a day at work, any day coming out here and fishing. I'm hoping I can spot a steelhead from up here. That would be pretty cool to see one from up here. I'm looking to see if I can spot a steelhead just kind of sitting in there. When this water is so low and clear, sometimes with polarized glasses you can see through the water and you can see them just sitting. It's like just waiting until the water gets bigger and then they can move up. This valley has a lot of Roosevelt elk, which are a little bit different than the Rockies. But yeah, there's a sign of elk right there. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't bump a herd. That is quite a hike. Oh. I don't know what the name of this hole is, but I'm going to call it the cable hole. This is the only cable hole is the only way. Yep, that's here. Does that look pretty secure? Okay. This is like the only way I'm getting down. So I'm rigging up a new setup. It's one way to measure to see what your depth is I'm about 6 foot, so there's about 6 foot, And then your arm span is another 6 foot. So I would estimate I'm probably 12 feet there. I'm probably not even deep enough with this. This hole is insane. I can go all the way with that. The only downside to fishing this way is that it's hard. It can be really hard. I mean, this is not a guided trip where you can expect to catch 6 fish in a day. We're not in a drift boat where we can hit like every hole for 10 miles and then motor back up and then hit those holes again, you know. The chance of hooking a 6 pound, 8 pound, 10 pound, 12 pound maybe, and they even get bigger than that, you know, a 12 pound steelhead could be around the bend. You know, anybody can come here and do it, and you don't have to be technically, you know, you don't have to know all the right gear, and you don't have to have real expensive gear and like perfect waders. You can just come out here with what gear you have and just figure it out. Typically in a year, I catch probably between 2 and 3 a season, which isn't that many. But the ones that you do catch, you remember. I mean, the ones that you do catch are big, you know, and that can make a season. You could be fishing and have a good season with just having 1 or 2 winter steelhead that you catch. Oh. That would have been exciting. In the bottom. So my favorite river on the Oregon coast has got to be the Wilson River. I know that river really well. I've been fishing that river for years. I know every hole and every run. I don't catch fish on them every single time that I go down there, but I know them really well. And I've been fishing them for about 12, 13 years, so I know that river really well. And the Wilson is really nice because it's really close to Portland. And you have all these pullouts that you'll pull out, walk down the river, fish, come out, go to another pullout. And you can't float the upper section, so that's probably why I like that river the most, is because it's got really good bank access. The Wilson River, on the flip side, gets a lot of fishing pressure because everybody from Portland goes there and fishes it, so it gets a lot of fishing pressure. I mean, the average day is you're going in right before dawn, or right before the sun comes up, and there's 2 people in your spot. Then you've got to go to your plan B spot, and you're playing C spot. And so that's the downside of the river. Right kind of an artery of Portland, you have a major highway going through there, so there's just a ton of people piled up on every turnout. So a couple of times we had to get creative and find spots that we've never fished before. It's got really big fish in there. Right now it's got really big native run of winter steelhead in there, so that's probably the #1 thing. And that's what brings us here, is this big winter steelhead. I think the thing I like most about steelhead fishing is times like this where you're just in a really beautiful location, you're fishing, you have the sound of the river. I mean, everything's so like serene out here. You kind of get into like a mode where you're just like casting. I'm never gonna catch one. And it's just like the moment where you realize you're not gonna catch anything. Like today's just gonna be a wash. I drove all the way out here, I'm not gonna catch anything. That's when you're gonna hook one. Do I have 10-pound leader versus 12-pound leader? Am I getting drag on my drifts? There's so many variables that you really start to question yourself. I think a lot of the things is if the fish are in here, they're gonna bite. Which is what we're gonna do. We're just gonna get in the truck. We're just gonna go to the next spot, hit the next hole, hit the next hole. I mean, that's all you can do. But man, that water looks so good up there. We fished that with the 2 different rods, and then the next hole, and then here. Putting in the time, I mean, anybody can come and do this trip. Anybody can come out here and fish. You know, in fact, one of my friends came out here, hooked a 10-pounder right up here around this bend. Never been fishing before, never been steelhead fishing before, and he hooked a 10-pounder. So anybody can do this trip. It's non-exclusive. This is all public land. If you can put in the time, it's really like you're not paying like a whole lot of money. Like it's a very inexpensive trip to do. You're paying more with your time. And then maybe you're paying a little bit, like it's cold and rainy. Some people don't like fishing in those conditions. You're kind of paying for like inconvenient weather. But really, if you pay with your time, you can get lucky and eventually get into them or find out where they are, I guess. These fish might be lower in the river for some reason. The water's so low. We might be fishing too high up for them. All that work getting down here, nothing. But man, it is pretty down here. There's 1 run and 2 big holes in this spot. So all that effort to get down here, I was hoping it would pay off, but yeah, we got really good at casting. So. The dangling bobbers, and then all this line. You can't get a good drift because there's all this like line in the way. Oh, you see that off the rocks? That's one way to get it in, bounce it off the rock. Like shooting off the backboard in a basketball game. Oh, there we go, Yep, got one. So the major budget for this trip is just a tank of gas. That is my one and only cost that I had for this trip. I've already had my fishing license, my salmon steelhead tag, which you need to fish here, and my truck's all ready to go. I have all the equipment, the waders, everything's paid for. I've had these waders for years. And the major cost for this trip is just simply gas. And gas is really cheap right now, which is really fortunate. So filled up the car last night, and I'll probably empty a half a tank of gas in my truck. Some of these locations that are really close to your house, or even 2 hours to get to, you're not going to pay for a guide. You're not going to pay for, you don't have to tip your guide. You're not going to pay for lodging. You're not going to pay for a lot of food. I just brought a PB&J sandwich. So as far as a budgeted trip, this has got to be one of the cheapest trips that that I'm going to do this entire season. So